We'd had a lot of fun at Page Springs. We caught a few trout and buddied up with some horses, but it was time to go. Yep. We were going a little further east over to Bully Creek Reservoir, where we'd caught some nice fat trout in the years past. We said goodbye to a coyote on the way out and headed across the desert towards Vale, and whatever was ahead of us at our oasis in the desert, as we referred to Bully Creek. After a couple hours, we pulled off the road into the campground, and whoa! The campground was closed for repairs. Chad, who is in charge of repairing the place, suggested we dry camp for the night just up the road a piece. We headed down a little dirt access road towards the lake and ran straight into trouble. You don't always get a chance to film your mistakes, but we did. Oh, goody. Just take this little shortcut and, yep, buried to the axle. I tried digging, but finally I gave up and went back to the campground for help. Chad used a backhoe to move Tonto enough that we could pull him out. Thanks, Chad. Well, that is where we got stuck yesterday. See, the thing is, I decided to cut through this little place right here rather than come in on the road, because the road had a pretty big tilt to it. It would tip the trailer to one side. And I just thought, well, it'll be easier to come in on the little side piece here. It looked good enough. There was tire tracks, somebody else had done it. But we got just a little bit too close to the water. And boy, well, here's our little camp spot at Bully Creek Reservoir. Had to change our plans here a little bit since the campground's not open. And we found a spot to spend the night. Now, we'll head on over to Unity Reservoir. It's supposed to be sunny tomorrow. Maybe we'll catch a few trout. Thoroughly enjoying the fact that there was no traffic, a big change from I-5 where we lived. Then we came upon this real estate deal here for a fixer-upper and just had to stop and take a check out. A guy could start his own town here. Naturally, everything was locked up. You'd really want to protect these valuable buildings. As I inspected the property, I found a way to get a glimpse inside. What would be in there? Bodies? Pretty disappointing, but not surprising to find the place was caving in on itself. We left the shack up to the one resident we'd seen, up on his pole. About noon we pulled into the Unity Lake campground. There were a few other campers there, but we picked out a spot and set up camp. The neighbors soon popped up to say hi. Unity Lake is really a pretty little campground out in the desert. We got Tonto all hooked up with water and power, and we were home. Time for drinks out on the patio.
We have arrived.
We made it to Unity. That's Unity Reservoir out there. We're going to go out and fish that tomorrow. Knock them dead. I think we'll blow the boats up, take the pontoons out.
Sounds like fun. That'd be real fun.
Now we're going to go look at our rocks.
Oh, yeah.
They're only about 2 miles from here. They're not even famous, but they sure amaze us.
Yeah, I hope the sun is in the right spot to get them right today. That'll be fun.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, let's get done with our drinks here and head up and look at the rocks.
Okay.
That sounds like a fun thing to do. We
Sounds
haven't
good.
seen them for a long time, and they're neat, and we'll show you. Now, we've shown you our rocks, as we call them, in other of our adventures, but I want to explain why we have such a fascination with them. First, take this balancing rock here. It's right overhead, and it could fall off at any time, but it doesn't. At least it hasn't so far. If that rock falls down now, we're in trouble. But the real reason we've been so taken with these formations is what our imagination finds to explore here. For instance, look behind the balancing rock and you can see an ape watching it with a curious look on his face. See it? And here, right next to the gorilla, you can see King Arthur getting ready to smooch Lady Guinevere. Just as plain as day. Now here, off in the distance, is another balancing rock. And if you get in close enough, you can see how precariously it's perched there. Now that's King Huza. And we kind of pan down Huza. And I don't know why they call that Pecker Rock. Maybe you can figure it out, I don't know.
As my dad would say, well, that's quite an erection.
Pecker Rock here?
He said that about the Washington Monument. It's quite an erection.
A little different look at him, but doesn't it look like somebody? Can't quite place him. And then, of course, we come down here. There's our Easter Island. Boy, very distinctive profile. Almost looks noble. Now here, as I filmed Easter Island, our name for this statue, the idea of climbing up there and patting him on the back of the head started bouncing around in my mind. That's the kind of thing that usually gets me into trouble. I mean, that's kind of snaky looking country all the way up there. But I decided to give it a try, even knowing that I'd have George Washington here watching me all the way. I headed up the hill, and I gotta tell you, snakes weren't my only concern. There were other considerations that made this seem like a somewhat dubious idea. I climbed on. There's another balancing rock. That one could fall on me right now. Well, I'm climbing up here to get a close look at Easter Island, and I find a little bitty balancing rock compared to the monsters. That's the backside of Easter Island. I'm gonna go walk over there and shake hands with him, maybe. Well, look at that. It looks like I'm gonna make it. Now, if I don't stumble and break a leg on this rocky ground, I'll be there. Aha! Success! I made it up to the back of old Easter Island's head. But who knows it?
Sometimes I envy my retired women friends whose husbands enjoy quiet days of reading or something. I get to witness mine finding different ways to kill himself. It's not really all that relaxing for me. But Unity Lake at sunset definitely is relaxing.
Next morning we got to work getting the boats ready. There is a little work involved in getting the old pontoon boats ready to hit the water, what with pumping them up and carrying them down to the launch point and making sure all the gear is ready to go.
wish there was some kind of airlifted floating life jacket he could wear when climbing rocks.
Once all the oars, rods, life jackets, and so on are loaded, it's time to shove off. Boom, bang, and we're on the way.
It does take a lot of work to get them from truck to water, but I always love launching into the quiet waters.
Just got a hit already. There he is. I don't know, it's not very big, but
It's not?
the first fish.
Yeah. Got the stink off of your boat.
Well, look at that. Look at that. It's a crappie.
Wow.
We're not fishing for crappie.
No, we're not, but those are tasty little devils. We found that out.
I think we'll let this one go. If we start catching a bunch of them,
Yeah.
he's not real big, but see that?
Yeah.
Mr. Crappie.
Nice. First fish. First one, dear.
That's what the campground looks like out on the pond. Fishing from pontoon boats, at least the way we do it, is simply tossing out a spinner, spoon, or something with a piece of worm on it, and then just rowing around. And rowing around. Sometimes for quite a spell. So I guess it's some kind of good health factor. I mean, if it doesn't give you a heart attack.
On calm days, it is relaxing.
At last, fish on. Feels like a good one.
Okay. What have you got there?
Boy, feels like a good one.
Good.
You got the right picture?
Yeah. Except my boat's turning around.
Oh, holy cow.
Wow. A technical note here, pontoon boats tend to turn while filming, which can be challenging.
Now this is where you lose a fish, right at the boat. Oh, sure wish I had a net a time like this.
I know. I was thinking about that. I saw those boats with nets on them. I was like, that's a good idea.
Yeah, no, there's a good reason for nets.
Wow. That is a nice one. Good job, honey. Good job.
Boy, that's 17, 18 inches.
That's a pretty one. That is a pretty one. There he is.
Just hooked in the lip.
Okay. Off he goes. Woo! Well, awesome, honey.
You know what I caught it on?
What?
Thomas Buoyant.
Thomas Buoyant. Good job. Good job. Well, here we are, tied together.
Yep.
And Chris is trying a new fishing thing, but so far not much luck.
Well, it's a beautiful day. It's getting late. Fishing's kind of tapered off here, it looks like. I think we'll go back and clean the fish and get ready for supper.
Okay.
Call it a day.
Sounds like a plan.
Yep. This is weird, and I didn't expect to have it on our plate today. Yesterday, I clawed my way through rattlesnake country to the top of the world where I patted Easter Island on the head. Darcy was done filming at this time, so she returned to the truck and didn't witness my climb. She kind of poo-pooed my story. So I said, well, it's a sunny day and the rocks will look better, so let me point out where I went up. I don't have to climb it again, but you can see where I did it. With that, we headed for the rocks. The balancing rock with its bird buddies was there. King Arthur and the lady looked good in the sun. The gorilla had an eye on the balancing rock. And Easter Island was as proud as ever. This, I said, is where I started, and stupidly I took a few steps, and then a few more, just to show her how hard the climb was because of the slope of the slide hill being so extreme. You can make a slip and easily slide downhill quite a ways. This one that looks like a Simpsons character. Homer or one of the boys. Go! Anyway, I kept going up, mindful of falling items. And then one fell. Me.
Oh. So I guess I was spared watching him try to kill himself yesterday. Phew. It's still a little disconcerting to wonder if I'll need to call an ambulance whenever he goes off on these kinds of adventures.
Yes, sir, me and the big man made quite a pair. Then I continued on, and I didn't go down. No, sir, I went up. This is a screwy idea. I'm going to walk out this spine to where it drops off into, well, it would be a quick way down to the highway for me. I got to tell you that I'm really aware of all the shifting rocks I'm sliding on here and trying to look anywhere but down. Easy, easy. I finally got to the end. Now turn slowly and now wave at the camera. Yeah, it's a quick shot to the bottom. Now just head back, out of trouble, and don't stumble.
That's something for you old geezers to try.
And then with goals achieved, I headed down, with all the elegant grace I had used to reach the top, as nimble and sure-footed as a gazelle.
Mountain climbers probably don't want Chris's special techniques advertised. Yeah, I don't think this method will probably make it into the rock climbing journals. I don't imagine they want this.
Remember I told you that the side hill was steep? Well, I used the slope here to help me make it to the road nice and easily.
Piece of cake.
That's called rappelling.
Glissading.
Without a rope.
It's called glissading. Glissading. It's what people do coming off of snowy mountains.
Well, I got it done. I patted him on the head.
Yeah.
We headed back to camp.
For our 27th anniversary.
Yep.
And my birthday, we won't say what you shall
We'll finish our drinks here,
Yeah.
looking out at the lake.
It's a rough life.
It's not a bad looking place.
No. Maybe we'll have fewer adventures like we had before.
Yeah, we've
The
had
ones we can forget.
we've had a few
We've had a few forgettable,
down spots on this trip.
unforgettable, forgettable adventures.
Yep.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
anytime you do enough of anything, something goes wrong. And something went wrong a couple of times for us, but we're past it. We're still going, and
Life is good.
it is.
31 years together. I forgot to say that.
Well,
27
most
years
people
married.
don't give a rip.
27 years married and 31 years together.
Counting the shacking up.
Yeah, the shacking up part.
Okay, anyhow, that's enough secrets. Probably more than anybody watching this wants to hear, I would imagine. Okay, that's enough. Anyway. Well, my first 80 years went by pretty good. Now, Darcy and I are anxious to see what happens next. Join us on Darchris and you'll find out.